a demon king frog suddenly appears to destroy the world. But our 6-year-old boy, Wang Ling, seeing everyone running away in panic, takes the most natural approach to the situation. Go to the store and get some snacks. The frog notices our little boy while fighting against cultivators and decides to take the 2-for-1 snack sale. Zhuoyi, a cultivator, manages to arrive in time and save the little boy and defeats the frog on his own. Now, 10 years have passed, and the boy is enrolling at a cultivation and spiritual school as part of the 60th faction. When he gets there, he meets Sun Rong, a girl with a high cultivation level of spiritual force, who saves him from bullies by shooting them with a golden beam. The students are then presented with an entrance exam that will determine their class placement for the year. They're ranked by defeating a stationary incarnation of the demon frog from 10 years ago, and their score will determine if they join the ordinary class or elite one. Wang Ling is called into fight, and everyone mocks him for his weak cultivation power. He nonchalantly walks into the hall, and when he walks closer, the frog starts to sweat and tremble. It remembers him as the kid from 10 years ago. At that time, Wang Ling went fuming after dropping his snack, and he kicked the frog with his unmatched godlike force, defeating it. Back at the testing hall, Wang Ling stands before the frog and raises his hand to punch the frog while restraining his power to join the ordinary class. But instead, his power causes the system to shut down immediately before he does anything, leaving everyone confused as to what happened. When the screen suddenly turns back on, the frog is flipped over its back, while Wang Ling is still standing before it, making everyone's jaws drop down to the floor, wondering how Weakling can defeat the Demon King. He gets placed in Class Elite alongside Gao Hao, Chen Kao, and Sun Rong. The first lesson they learn is about summoning familiars. The teacher gives them the theory and asks them to put their knowledge to the test by summoning a spiritual beast. Sun Rong impresses her class with her out-of-the-ordinary summon, a skeletal puppy-like beast. The teacher then asks Wang Ling to try it too, since he seems uninterested in what's happening in his class. Forced to oblige, he summons the frog from before. Upon seeing it again, the students freak out and rush out of the class in terror of the demon. The teacher then uses her spell to change its appearance and transforms it into a dog, calming everyone down. The students come back, impressed and seemingly interested in the beast. They name the dog Froggy, and its owner, Wang Ling, walks out of the classroom and heads home, thinking about his past. He was overpowered since he was born, increasing his realm of cultivation after every 2 years since birth. He was so incredibly powerful that he understood the true psychological and emotional states of his parents even when they didn't reveal them out loud, which lead him to save their marriage by wedding himself and breaking their meaningless argument. As he grew older, he became so powerful that his parents made him wear a power restraining seal to control his power from going berserk and destroying the world. But the seal wasn't enough. He still had to have a golden pill every day to decrease his huge power. From then on, he decided to keep a low profile until his father completed the second seal. By this, he went to school and avoided everyone to stay out of trouble and avoid breaking the seal and releasing his power. But this seal is also a failed experiment, as it also restrains the ability to have any kind of emotion. But one day, at school, he sees Sun Rong trying to get people's votes so that she can become the class president. According to her, the best way to get votes is by giving people something. So she buys everything in a shop and gives it to the students. Wang Ling doesn't care about it, but he trades 5 of his votes for 5 packs of snacks and also gives her a golden pill as a thanking gift. In class, the professor walks in and sees some signs on the students' heads and decides that his lesson for the day will be the art of seduction. Wang Ling realizes that Sun Rong did exactly that to the students, as he can also see the signs on their heads. But he quickly realizes it only works if nobody gives something to her in return, which is not his case, as he gave her the pill. When Sun Rong looks at him, he signs to her a thank you for the delicious snack, but she misinterprets it as eat the golden pill. She excitedly eats the pill thinking it's a strength booster, but she loses her strength right after, which causes her trick to weaken and break, relieving them from her spell. The professor asks her to demonstrate the spell for the class, and she gets up to walk to the front. But she trips on a can and Wang Ling catches her, but he lets her fall when the professor asks him to demonstrate the trick then. He recites the same phrase that Sun Rong had said at the shop before doing the trick, and a shockwave of his force field curses through the school, successfully putting Sun Rong under his spell, unbeknownst to them both. The following day, Sun Rong asks Wang Ling on a date that he doesn't particularly say yes to, but she gets the impression that he did. He sees assassins on top of the school roof, targeting Sun Rong, and he sends a shockwave that propels one of the men backward, causing him to lose his chance of killing Sun Rong. At home, his parents encourage Wang Ling to go on the date with Sun Rong, who has been waiting for him since he woke up. He ends up going to the date, which is at a theme park reserved for the two of them. There, they are followed by the two assassins who shoot at Sun Rong. But Wang Ling catches the bullet in his mouth and shoots a shockwave back at them, sending the guy flying. He uses his trick of forgetting to make Sun Rong and the theme park worker less suspicious of him. They continue to enjoy the park while Wang Ling keeps swatting away the assassins. Finally, they ride the Ferris wheel, and the assassins follow them in the next car. The assassins end up in their car and hold them at gunpoint. Sun Rong stands up to them and protects Wang Ling by shielding him with her body. Wang Ling gets angry and sends the two assassins flying into the air with his spiritual force and summons mercy of the gods to finish the assassins up. He's forced to rest for the next few days at home for protecting Sun during their date. And his classmates, Gao Hao, Kao Chen, and Sun Rong come to visit him. They explain their teacher requested them to give him a bracelet for the annual spiritual power exam, where they must measure their power through the bracelet to pick the top scoreboard students in the country to compete in the sword competition against other schools. Sun Rong gets placed as the second strongest student by creating a force sphere. Chen Kao and Gao Hao placed high enough to participate in the competition. When it's Wang Ling's turn, he tries to restrain his power to 1%, but he still creates a force sphere so big that it causes a disruption to his surroundings and a huge blink flash. He launches the sphere into space to avoid detection. The system still detects him but is unable to score him, so they register him as null and rank him as the strongest student. The group of friends is all chosen to compete in the sword competition, but they are still a member short. So, the teacher suggests they choose Froggy, even though he's a dog who was a frog that can be easily ranked as the second strongest in the country. The teacher tells them that they will be training for 3 days before the competition begins. Everyone must use their own sword in the competition, and everyone starts to ask if Wang has a sword, and he only replies with a yes. He goes downstairs to his basement and opens a box, revealing that his sword is a small kid. After the 3 days is up, they meet up to leave for Faction 59 Seconds gym. But he only thinks up ways to get out of the competition and avoid any kind of attention. When they reach the gym, they find the other faction waiting for them. The director for Faction 59 uses her grand testing trick to see Wang Ling's value of cultivation level. But he decides to use this to his advantage and pretends to be hurt so as to sit out the competition. He falls to the ground pretending to be sick, but his seal starts to break. His force suddenly unleashes into a massive ball of fire which shoots out into space and causes him some distress. Despite it, he remains still pretending to be hurt so that he can be dismissed from the competition and go home to fix his seal. He gets carried away in a stretcher by some medics and gets taken to the medical room, but he suddenly is set in a purple fire. Faction 59 Seconds director bandages him up immediately and stops him from burning. He gets taken to the medical room, but he escapes from there, leaving them wondering where he went. He calls his father to tell him to bring the new seal that he's been working on as the old one was slowly breaking. The rest of the team goes to the gym while Wang Ling wanders around the building getting lost while looking for an exit. He arrives at the gym and sees Chen Kao's arm getting disintegrated by one of the 59 faction's powerful student, Bu Fong, the same one who set him on fire. Wang Ling enters and catches Chen Kao, restoring his arm back to the way it was. He walks towards Bu Fong and the latter charges at him to punch him. Wang Ling takes the punch, gets up, and ignores the weakling as passes by him as if nothing happened. The competition then starts and everyone is teleported inside the 5 element altars where they must fight to capture the altars by placing their swords on them, getting points over time per occupation. They get placed in all the different altars and get pursued by Faction 59 to defeat them and capture all the altars. A few minutes later, it's announced that Faction 60 has captured an altar. Wang Ling was watching Go Hao fighting the Faction 59 guy, but Go Hao started to direct his spiritual force at Wang Ling. He then asked him to get up and fight, but Wang Ling continued to stay put, until he started to get angry and his heart started to beat fast, causing his seal to break even more, making his dark energy slip out of the broken spaces of the seal. Froggy sees this and ran to consume the dark energy that's coming out of Wang Ling's broken seal, allowing him to use his force. The two of them merge into one beast to control Wang Ling's spiritual force. The Faction 59 guy points his sword towards Wang Ling, who touches the tip, and it crumbles into pieces. He walks up to him and gently pushes him with the palm of his hand, but the guy gets sent flying in a loud rumble and shake. He then decides to move and capture the altar. After the first capture, he continues to move forward and captures 2 more altars, making Faction 60 gain the lead. But soon enough, Faction 59 takes the altars back by following Faction 60 behind and capturing it themselves. Wang Ling then tries to increase his speed and capture all the altars faster. But he gets interrupted by Sun Rong, who calls him to devise a new plan to capture the majority of the altars and win the game. Wang Ling guards the altar of water and Chen Kao guards the altar of metal as he fights fake Bufong, while Sun Rong and Go Hao fight one guy from Faction 59. Bufong defeats Chen Kao and captures the altar of wood, but he takes it back when the spirit of his sword awakens and helps him fight back. Bufong gets angry at Chen Kao for defeating him and reveals her true self, the leader of the assassins who's been trying to kill Sun Rong. Wang Ling leaves and captures another altar, but upon reaching the new altar, Wang Ling starts to get overwhelmed by all of the emotions he wasn't able to feel since making his friends. The seal threatens to break completely. He stops and doesn't lower his sword to the altar. Sun Rong comes and tells him that he did it, calming him down, and they both place the sword on the altar. But as soon as they finish doing so, the Shadow Faction leader comes and hits Sun Rong on the back, killing her at once. Her spirit comes out of her body and hugs him until he tearfully watches her disappear in his arms. At that instant, Wang Ling starts to burst inside. His heartbeat starts to catch up with the pace of the tears going down his face, remembering every time she smiled. Their time in the theme park, her warm hug, everything they've been through makes him burst into rage, destroying his seal and chains restraining his heart. Froggy tries to stop time from flowing, but it can't stop Wang Ling from going berserk on the woman. He violently beats her, brutally punching her, sending her flying and kicking her to the moon and back. He pulverizes her completely, while thinking that he just wanted to be with Sun Rong. He wanted a peaceful life, one where she exists. As he's about to land his final blow, he remembers Sun Rong's last words and stops. He tries to revive her, but Froggy tells him that there's nothing to do. He can't bring back a lost life. He tears down again. He'd rather give all of his spiritual power in exchange for her life. She's the one who made him see the colors in life. Before meeting her, he was empty, everyone made fun of him, and left him all alone. His hands are shaking as he holds her hand and makes his decision. He will restart the whole world. He keeps trying to bring her back, but still it doesn't work. He tries multiple times, but still, it just doesn't work. Her source of life has been destroyed completely, as said by his sword. He asks Froggy what he could possibly do, and Froggy tells him that he could create a different timeline, but it needs an immense amount of force. Wang raises his hand to the air and starts to create a ball of energy, several times bigger than the earth, asking if it's enough. Froggy asks if he's crazy to go against the laws of nature and possibly get hit by thunder. Wang Ling's eyes fire up with a new level of determination, asking, how can that be worse than living without her? In this new world, Wang Ling enrolls in the school and experiences the same things he did before. But this time, there's no Sun Rong, she's not in his class, there's no date, there's nothing. Although he doesn't remember what he's missing, he feels empty and he cries. In the old world, which is set to be destroyed, Sun Rong is sent back to life by the underground rulers after they found out that she's Sun Wukong's descendant. When she's awake, she asks the sword what is happening, and he explains everything. Knowing that Wang Ling is doing this for her, she asks to bring him back. The sword tells her that she only needs to destroy the new world and restore everything back to the way they were. She stabs the sword into his chest, destroying the new world and pulling him outside of it. They hold each other's hands and they go back to the past, to when Chen Kao was fighting the fake Bufong. Wang Ling uses his power to stomp her into the ground with his hand, killing her. They capture all 5 altars and win the game. Sun Rong comes running and it finally revealed that she doesn't remember anything. That is how time reversal works. It never existed. Wang Ling's father then comes in and gives him the seal to contain his power and emotions. Even though Wang Ling may never date Sun Rong, all he desires is world peace. Watch this next video. See you on the